Hello, good evening everyone. So today we are back with my class. Today we will discuss tragedy and terms. And we know it is in our CGPSC AP English syllabus that there is a section in the initial portion of the syllabus that is literary forms, right? Now in the literary forms we will discuss today tragedy and most of the details that surround tragedy. So as you see in the board, we are going to take up the most important, what should I say, philosophers and dramatists also. So tragedy and terms, Plato, Aristotle and Shakespeare. What is tragedy? What are the elements of tragedy? What are the views on tragedy by Plato, Aristotle, and then in our English literature even by Shakespeare that we will see today. Now first we will look into the introduction to tragedy. When tragedy came, tragedy basically came from ancient Greek culture or Roman culture also, or better to say it is derived from classical influence. Now tragedy refers to basically a goat song, right, and it is performed, it emerged from ancient Greek dramatic and religious festivals, but something bigger happened in the hand of Aristotle, and the rest of the thing follows. Now how it evolved, the concept of tragedy has transformed through history, and we will see that it does not remain only in the history or only in the festival. It has taken a great control in the field of life and literature as well. Now what is Plato's view on tragedy? We know Plato wrote Poetics, the most important masterpiece in classical literary criticism. Tragedy, like Plato used to believe that these people who write poetry or literature, at that time of Plato, literature, poetry is considered literature. Poetry matlab literature ही होता था उस time पे. So do not get confused by the word poetry as poetry. Poetry refers to literature. Now what is mimesis? Mimesis is the Greek word for imitation. Imitation. Okay, so Plato has given a theoretical definition on tragedy. So he critiqued tragedy's reliance on mimesis, because imitation is just a transparent mirroring. Imitation is just a reflection of what reality is all about. But on the other hand, Aristotle says something different, who stands completely in opposition to Plato, that Aristotle invites the poets into his field, that no, it is not just transparent mirroring, it is not just fake reflection, rather it is very important. Imitation is one of the important phenomena in human life, because a child starts imitating at the very first hand. So Aristotle says in this particular point that mimesis or imitation is a craft, it is a skill. Suppose if I mimic like a Johnny Liver, so the same thing, how Johnny Liver's mimicry is, but the content may not be important, but the way I will present it becomes important. So it is my skill, it is my artistic expression, it is my craft which shows my talent, which shows my art. So craft is more important, which Aristotle popularizes in his book, mostly in his book Poetics, and many dramatists are influenced by Aristotle's definition of tragedy, that we will come soon. Now it also has another aspect, emotional impact. He worried about tragedy's intense emotional impact, because प्लेटो को अच्छा नहीं लगता था कि it has only emotion, it has only passionate emotion, and with the passionate emotion we cannot govern the society. क्योंकि प्लेटो के टाइम there was a clash about the governance, that who will govern the society, who will govern Athenian society, long back in the classical century, maybe 4th century BC in Athens in Greece, that who will govern the society. Plato opined that these poets cannot rule or govern the society. We need rational people, we need people who are driven by reason, not by passion or emotion. Okay, so that's why Plato also said banish those poets, banish those poets, they are not useful at all to govern the society. So there is an emotional problem with Plato. Ideal state, Plato advocated censorship of arts for his ideal state, because he thinks art cannot govern society, because for him, for Plato, art is nothing but driven by emotion and passion, which is completely different from the point of view of Aristotle, right? That Aristotle says no, imitation is not just a transparent mirroring as Plato thought, but it is more than that. It is craft, it is skill, it is technique, which is more important in any kind of creation or production of art. Now, Plato's Republic and poetry. I already told you that Plato talked about banishment of those emotional poets who are driven by only emotions. Then we see the rational, his rational involved poetry's potential to corrupt. He again, Plato believed that these emotional thing will corrupt our society. So, हटा दो इन लोगों को, banish them from my ideal state, republic. Okay, so that was the view of Plato. Now, what is more important here is the views and ideas coming from Aristotle. That is more important, because Aristotle brings the significance of art, significance of imitation or mimesis to literature, to life. Now, Aristotle responded to Plato's critique. Now you got to understand that what Aristotle responded to Plato. Plato, for Aristotle, art is a mimetic production. Art is important. Art is a craft. It is technique. It is artistic creation. Now, in his book Poetics, Aristotle defined what tragedy is, and which became a kind of torchlight to all the dramatists, beginning from Greek dramatist. We know the great tragedians, Aeschylus, Euripides, Sophocles. Sophocles' famous tragedy, Oedipus Rex, right? Rex matlab king, Rex stands for king, Oedipus the king, right? And we see the Aristotelian views, Aristotelian aspects in that tragedy. So, for Aristotle, tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete and of a certain magnitude. तो ये यहाँ तक तो ठीक था कि tragedy is an imitation of an action, which Plato also stated. But there is a difference from this part, right? That it is serious, complete and of a certain magnitude. It has to, for tragedy, it has to be serious. It should not include any kind of humor. It should not include any kind of comic elements. It must have a certain magnitude. Tragedy must belong to historical background. There should be kingly qualities and aspects and elements in the tragedy. It also continues, Aristotle has given a little longer definition of tragedy. It also continues, and he continues with saying that it must bring, it must arouse pity and fear. Okay, So initially when tragedy was enacted on stage, it must appeal to you as an audience, it must come to me, it must connect to me. That there will be a hero, and the hero, the tragic hero, will commit a sin, right? And by committing the sin, we will see the downfall of the tragic hero. And by experiencing the downfall, we will feel pity for the tragic hero, because such a great figure. We will discuss what is tragic hero, what should be the qualities of a tragic hero. Aristotle also gave the list, the items or elements, characteristic features of a tragic hero. That tragic hero कैसा होना चाहिए, tragic hero में क्या क्या quality होना चाहिए. Now the most important part here comes that tragic hero should be an intermediate kind of personality, right? Neither good nor bad. He should be a mixture of both good and bad qualities. Okay, and he must belong to a historical status, historical background. He must be a towering personality that we will see soon, and of a certain magnitude. Magnitude refers to the kingly stature of the figure, right? So these are the ideas of a tragic hero. Okay, questions may come from tragic hero, from many literary terms that I will also discuss here. But before going to the terms, this is one of the important aspects, so it generally comes in all kinds of exam, in assistant professor in English subject specifically. What are the 6 elements of a tragedy? एक ट्रेजेडी को ट्रेजेडी बनने के लिए ये सारे एलिमेंट्स होना ज़रूरी है. These are the 6 elements that are given, advocated by Aristotle. Number 1 is plot, right? So before I discuss what plot is, let me tell you one thing. We should understand the difference between story and plot. What is story? You know, story is the raw materials, right? Story is the raw material, just a collection of events. But when I make sequences of the information and the events, it becomes a plot. Okay, and also Aristotle says that plot is the soul of tragedy, quote unquote soul of tragedy. Okay, no plot, no tragedy, right? So plot is one of the important elements of tragedy, which really becomes very popular, and it has been followed by many dramatists as well. Character. Now, why character is one of the important elements? Why Aristotle has included character in the list of in the elements of a tragedy? Because as I already told you that to become a tragic hero, one has to have all these qualities. That he has to be a towering personality, he must belong to a historical background, and he must be an intermediate, neither good nor bad. He must be a mix, fusion of both good and bad qualities, right? And when that towering figure, such a big figure, will commit some sin, so the general public audience will pity for him. Such a big figure, so knowledgeable, so powerful, but still he commits the sin. So that will bring pity in our mind, and fear also, that if such thing can happen with such a big man, so the same fate might happen to us. So this is how there will be an arousal of pity and fear. And the moment we will experience these two emotions, powerful emotions of pity and fear, we will check our passions also. The audience will check their passions, that no, we should not commit such sin. So that will release the tension or the emotion that might run inside the mind of the audience. Okay, and that results into catharsis. Another term that Aristotle also brings into focus here, that catharsis. Catharsis matlab catharsis is basically the purgation or purification of those powerful emotions, mostly pity and fear, when it will make you calm and quiet and tranquil in the mind. It will make you peaceful, and that is the goal of tragedy. Thought. In tragedy, thought is one of the important aspects. Why? Because as we already have seen that tragedy should be serious. So definitely the thought should be serious as well. So the thought must deal with some serious concern of life. Okay, we in Macbeth, if I share with you what happened to Macbeth. Macbeth is very serious about his ambition. Lady Macbeth is also very serious about her husband's ambition more than her ambition, but something else happened towards the end of the drama Macbeth, or in Hamlet also. Though Macbeth is not in our syllabus, but Hamlet it is in our syllabus. Right, now what happens in Hamlet? In Hamlet we see when the ghostly father appears in the Prince Hamlet's dream, the ghostly father says to him that it is your uncle who murdered me, who have ear poisoned me and killed me, so it is your duty to take revenge against this, right? And so look at the level or degree of thought. So that's why thought is also important. Next is diction. Diction matlab choice of words or use of words, the kind of words that you are using to express your thoughts, your action. If you see drama like Hamlet, the kind of what a piece of man he is, some kind of line is there in Hamlet, very famous line, I think said by Horatio, friend of Hamlet. So diction matters a lot. Though some may consider Macbeth as a villainous figure, but when we see Macbeth making soliloquies, or when Macbeth is completely under complete tension of thinking about his downfall, that what is, now I have killed my king and all of them are approaching me to murder me, right? So we can understand the degree of thought, the extremity of thought. So that's why thought, diction are really important. Next is spectacle. Now Aristotle talks about drama. Spectacle means what is being seen, जो हमें दिख रहा है, okay, सामने हमें जो दिख रहा है. So the audience are sitting and there is the stage. So right, an audience is looking at the stage, and what is happening, whatever happens on the stage is the spectacle. Okay, so spectacle, that what is happening, there can be battle, there can be talks, the kind of exchange between the talks, exchange between the thoughts. So spectacle is one of the theatrical elements of a tragedy. Okay, so whenever we talk about spectacle, there comes another complementary topic, that is spectacular or spectator. Okay, so one what is being seen is the spectacle, and one who is looking at it, watching the thing, is the spectator. So there is a kind of there is a kind of relationship, very strong bonded relationship between spectacle and the spectator, because the spectacle must give a universal appeal, otherwise it will not arouse pity and fear in the audience. So that's why there is a very strong relationship between spectacle and spectator, which is important in tragedy. Now melody or song, there must be some melody or songs. Their song, the role of song plays a very crucial role in tragedy, also in comedy, but we are discussing on tragedy. So melody or song, there are some background music that prevails in Hamlet or in Macbeth. We see these songs, it can be sounds of nature, sounds of benevolent nature, sounds of malevolent nature, okay, or sounds of horse, sounds of animal, okay. So it can be sound of any kind of natural or unnatural phenomena, but it has to be nevertheless a kind of song, a kind of melody, which also creates a great impact in the ambience of the tragedy. Okay, if you remember Macbeth, in the story, there is a bell knocking, there is a ringing bell, and whenever the bell rings, Macbeth comes to his consciousness, and who is coming, who is coming. So Macbeth is getting tensed after listening repetitively that bell ringing. So how these melody, here melody is not just melody matlab melodious hai aur kuch nahi hai, no, here melody means a kind of song, a kind of music that also speaks on the stage. So these are the most important 6 elements of tragedy given by Aristotle. Now I am coming back to some important terms which are really significant for our exam. को किसी भी term से question आ सकता है, तो we should be clear about these terms. Okay. Now mimesis. Mimesis is a Greek term. Mimesis stands for imitation. Okay. Mimesis stands for imitation, which Plato thinks is useless, but Aristotle thinks it is very useful. Aristotle thinks mimesis is craft. Plato thinks it is fake, it is insignificant, it is just something that is driven by emotion or passion, right? So that is the main idea of mimesis or imitation. Next is peripeteia. Peripeteia refers to reversal of fortune. Okay, that you are expecting something to happen, but something else happens. Okay, completely different from what you have expected. Okay, so there is a reversal of fortune. Next term is anagnorisis, very, very important term for tragedy. Anagnorisis means revelation or discovery of truth, realization of truth. Okay, revelation of truth, anagnorisis, right? So Hamlet is in our syllabus, so I will talk about Hamlet, that when Hamlet enacts play within a play, you must remember, so why did Hamlet enact that play within the play? Okay, because to confirm who is the murderer. Is it really Claudius, his uncle, who murdered his father, or something else? So that's why he enacted play within a play. Okay, and the moment he captures the expression of Claudius by through that play within a play, through that ongoing performance, then he understood, yes, my uncle Claudius, who really has killed my father and took side with my mother with an incestuous relationship. Okay, so that is anagnorisis, realization, revelation of truth. Next term क्या है? Hubris. Hubris means excessive amount of self-pride. Okay, excessive amount of ego, excessive amount of self-pride. Okay, so that is very important, right? Hamartia or hamartia, whatever you would like to pronounce, but it is hamartia actually. So hamartia refers to error of judgment or tragic flaw or fatal flaw also some say. Okay, so hamartia, and you will find hamartia in any tragedy that you must have read so far. Any tragedy, pick up any tragedy, we will find hamartia, be it Sophocles, Oedipus Rex, or be it Macbeth, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and many others. Hamartia is there. What is Macbeth's hamartia? Vaulting ambition, over ambitious nature. What is Hamlet's hamartia? Delaying indecision. वो बार बार देर करता था बहुत ज़्यादा, आज नहीं कल, आज नहीं कल, नहीं ये सही है या गलत है. To be or not to be, that is the question, which makes him completely under, that is his hamartia. Actually procrastination ये एक वर्ड है. दिस इज अ मॉडर्न वर्ड. जब शेक्सपियर लिख रहा था तब शायद वो वर्ड था भी नहीं. सो प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन इज अ मॉडर्न वर्ड विच कंप्लीटली फिट्स इन दैट पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन ऑफ हेमलेट. ओके, सो बार बार डिले करना, डिसीजन को डिले करना, अपने थॉट को डिले करना. ओके, प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन वाज हेमलेट्स hamartia. Next, Deus ex machina. In the Deus ex machina generally was used in the ancient Greek theater. Okay, that from the top there will be a group of gods and goddesses, and they will come down from the top as if they are coming from heaven, and they will play certain roles on stage. So that technical aspect, that the gods and goddesses will come down from top on the stage, this technical theatrical device becomes very important. But slowly it lost its edge, lost its essence, and we do not find Deus ex machina further in the English tragedies. But in the classical tragedies there is a very significant use of Deus ex machina. Next is catharsis, the last but not the least aspect of tragedy. Catharsis. Catharsis means, I told that it is the purification of soul, purgation of soul. When your emotion of pity and fear are purged off, are completely washed off, then you will become a very calm and peaceful minded person. So that is hamartia. Catharsis is needed. If there is no catharsis, then it is not the success of tragedy. It must bring catharsis. Okay, purgation of emotions. So these are some important terms which are really useful for our exam. Literary forms का एक topic है, एक section है जिसमें ड्रामा, जिसमें ट्रेजेडी, कॉमेडी, लॉट ऑफ फॉर्म्स आर देयर. सो ट्रेजेडी में ये सारे चीज़ें बहुत ज़रूरी है हमें जानना. नाउ प्लॉट, द सोल ऑफ ट्रेजेडी. यू कैन सी प्लॉट इज द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट. आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू इट इज कॉल्ड द सोल ऑफ ट्रेजेडी, राइट. Plot involves the arrangement of incidents. It must have a unity of action. Okay, a unity of action. Actually, Aristotle also talked about 3 unities, right? That unity of time, unity of place, unity of action. Matlab, there will be a Aristotle refers to historical documents, historical sources. सो लंबा चौड़ा हिस्ट्री है, तो उसको छोटा करने के लिए मे बी विद इन 24 आवर्स इतने 10 साल या 20 साल 50 साल का जो हिस्ट्री है उसको इंक्लूड करना, इट्स क्वाइट अ टफ जॉब. इट्स नॉट ए कप ऑफ टी, राइट. तो उसको थोड़ा रिड्यूस करने के लिए, कंडेंस करने के लिए व्हाट मैटर्स? आर्ट मैटर्स, प्लॉट मैटर्स. इसीलिए प्लॉट इज द सोल ऑफ ट्रेजेडी. If your plot is good, your tragedy will definitely appeal to the audience. That's why, that is one of the important reasons why plot is the soul. Because if you make the plot very well knitted, maybe it may deal with long years of historical sources, but if you can narrow it down within 24 hours of time, so definitely that can bring catharsis and success of a tragedy. Now, character in Aristotelian tragedy, fusion of good and bad qualities. ठीक है, तो ट्रेजिक हीरो का हीरो कैसा होना चाहिए? इंटरमीडिएट काइंड ऑफ पर्सनालिटी होना चाहिए, बोथ गुड एंड बैड क्वालिटीज. ओके, because everyone is good and bad, everyone is full of good, positive and adverse qualities, right? So that it can connect, it can relate to each and every human being. If the great man like Macbeth, Hamlet can commit such kind of sin and it brings pity, so for the common people it is fearful, right, that the same fate might happen to us. It alarms us that we should not commit such sin, right? Tragic hero, these are some of the significant aspects or stages that follow in the journey of a tragic hero. Okay, from rise to fall. There will be reversal of fortune, there will be hamartia, there will be nobility also. Macbeth is a noble man, he is a soldier, and he is very, there is a line, he is my double trust, when Macbeth is to invite his King Duncan. So he says he is my double trust. Look at his nobility, right? And there are many examples also through which we come to know that Macbeth really admires and respects his king, his master. But with the instigation of his wife, Lady Macbeth, he killed king to get the position, to become king. Okay, so the tragic hero is of noble birth. Noble birth here means towering position, towering personality. The tragic hero has a tragic flaw. He must have a tragic flaw. There will be an error of judgment that will turn the plot. They experience a reversal of fortune. Okay, there are a lot of reversal of fortunes. If you see the tragedy Hamlet, Catharsis. Catharsis is the purification of emotion, is the purgation of emotion. Okay, resolution, arousal, purgation. So you can understand the process of catharsis through these three stages. There will be resolution, there will be an arousal. Arousal of what? Arousal of pity and fear, and then purgation, peacefulness, purification of your potential emotions. Okay, ये तो हमें जानना है कि कैथारसिस refers to the purification of emotion or purgation of emotion. But on a serious note, according to the modern critical theory of Shakespearean tragedies, many critics opine that this is not a purification of emotion, rather it is the clarification, quote unquote, clarification of emotion. Okay, so there is a radical shift from this. ये हमें जानना ज़रूरी है, ये बहुत ही important. It is not the purification, rather clarification of emotions, right? तो ये important है. There are many ideas, many topics that will come again and again in our syllabus. Syllabus में भले ही वो उसका mention ना हो, लेकिन अगर लिखा है कि there will be questions from the writer at a general level and at a textual level, तो textual level को छोड़ के अगर हम देखें कि as a writer हमें पढ़ना है, tragedy का forms जानना है, तो ट्रेजेडी के फॉर्म्स तो बहुत सारे हैं, फ्रॉम द क्लासिक्स टू द पोस्ट मॉडर्न, बहुत सारे फॉर्म्स हैं. तो इंग्लिश लिटरेचर को हम पूरे अच्छे से कवर करेंगे, लेकिन साथ ही साथ जो क्रॉस रेफरेंसेस है उसको भी हमें ध्यान में रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है. क्यों मैं ये बता रहा हूँ ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्टेक्स्ट, इसका रीज़न मैं दे रहा हूँ कि एरिस्टोटल इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ट्रेजेडी इज़ ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, लेकिन देयर इज़ अनदर कॉन्सेप्ट which is related to tragedy and to drama, to theater. क्यों? There is a German playwright called Bertolt Brecht. You must have heard अपने बीए या तो एमए सेमिस्टर्स में पढ़े ही होंगे। बार्टोल्ट ब्रेक्ट है ना, मदर करेज एंड हर चिल्ड्रन, ये तो एक ड्रामा रहता है सिलेबस में, और उनके थियरीज इम्पॉर्टेंट है। एपिक थिएटर क्या होता है, एलियनेशन इफेक्ट, डिस्टेंसिंग इफेक्ट क्या होता है। बार्टोल्ट ब्रेक्ट की बात मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि बार्टोल्ट ब्रेक्ट challenged the rules and regulations given by Aristotle. He said he is one of the influential man from whom we got to know it is the clarification of the emotion, not the purification of the emotion. लेकिन दोनों ही पॉइंट हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है। Okay, so now we discussed a lot about Aristotle, Plato, and now see Shakespearean tragedy. Shakespeare was influenced by Greek and Roman models. He tried to follow a unity somehow, but not 100%. Shakespeare did not follow 100% classical rules given by Aristotle. Okay, Shakespeare sometimes went against the Aristotelian rules of tragedy. Sometimes he followed, sometimes he didn't follow. He created his own rules and own tragedy. He showed great innovation and adaptation. Okay, with the hand of the Bard of Avon, we know Shakespeare is. So Shakespeare created a different world in his world of tragedy. He expanded the scope of tragic subject matter. So पहले tragic subject matter एक सीमित था, मतलब एक confined था, बट नाउ व्हेन यू विल रीड शेक्सपियरियन ट्रेजेडी, बिकॉज वो हमें पढ़ना है, हेमलेट है और टेम्पेस्ट है हमारे सिलेबस में। सो हेमलेट का ट्रेजेडी अगर देखते हैं हम, तो इट इज़ नॉट जस्ट लिमिटेड टू historical towering personality. It is not related confined only to the Prince of Denmark, Hamlet, because Hamlet is within us, isn't it? We are all Hamlet. We always think and we always do not think. Okay, we always procrastinate like Hamlet. So this Hamletian soul is always within us. Right, we always think twice before we make any kind of important decision in every stage of our life. So that's why we see why Shakespeare क्यों इतना, why Shakespeare is Shakespeare, क्योंकि जब एक राइटर ड्रामा लिखते हैं या ट्रेजेडी लिखते हैं, whatever any kind of literature, so राइटर मस्ट हैव अ टारगेट. उसका एक टारगेट ऑडियंस होता है कि मैं ये पर्टिकुलर रीडरशिप कम्युनिटी के लिए लिख रहा हूँ, मैं ये सिर्फ चिल्ड्रन के लिए लिख रहा हूँ, मैं ये सिर्फ स्कॉलर लोगों के लिए लिख रहा हूँ, मैं ये सिर्फ स्टूडेंट जो फिलोसोफर्स है उनके लिए लिख रहा हूँ. सबका अपना अपना टारगेट ऑडियंस होता है. क्रिस्टोफर मार्लो उसका टारगेट ऑडियंस क्लियर था कि मैं तो बस सिर्फ जो एलिट क्लास है उनके लिए लिख रहा हूँ. डॉक्टर फॉस्टस अनदर ग्रेट वन. लेकिन शेक्सपियर का टारगेट ऑडियंस कोई रेस्ट्रिक्टेड नहीं था. शेक्सपियर का ऑडियंस इज़ वेरी फ्लेक्सिबल. वो कॉमन पीपल के लिए भी लिखते थे और किंग के लिए भी लिखते थे और इंटेलेक्चुअल्स के लिए भी लिखते थे. ओके, सो व्हेनेवर यू विल रीड tragedies by Shakespeare, you will find multiple interpretations at multiple angles, multi-thronged interpretations. Okay, so इसीलिए Shakespeare is Shakespeare. There are many other reasons also, but we should know. That's why we see Shakespeare expanded the subject matter of tragedy. Now we see 5 acts. Usually. Shakespeare's tragedy usually have 5 acts, and the tragic hero is a person of high status. ये तो है. And the next is there are both internal and external conflicts. Conflict becomes very important, and there is also saying that no conflict, no drama. Drama मतलब conflict होना चाहिए. It can be external or internal or both external internal. In most of the tragedies, Shakespeare always employs this external and internal conflict. ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. ठीक है. Now Shakespeare's tragic heroes, Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, King Lear. So Shakespearean tragic heroes are very complex. Why complex? Because it attach the very human complexity which is irrespective of generation, है ना, ये generation to generation it is relatable. Okay, I already discussed that everyone is Hamlet, everyone is Macbeth, right? So because you can relate, you can see your Hamletian attitude, you can see your Macbeth like desire, you can see your Macbeth like ambition, Hamlet like scholarship, or Hamlet like procrastination, Hamlet like delaying indecision. So that's why it is complex. Complex मतलब यहाँ पे क्या है? Complex मतलब it is all encompassing, very comprehensive. ओके आज जो शेक्सपियर का हैमलेट पढ़ रहा है 20 साल बाद जो पढ़ेगा हैमलेट उसके लिए वो भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाएगा. ओके बिकॉज इट इज़ अ काइंड ऑफ समथिंग विच इज़ बियॉन्ड एज. इट इज़ अ राइट, इट इज़ बियॉन्ड एज और बियॉन्ड एनी लिमिटेड टाइम एंड स्पेस. इसीलिए यू नो वी सी दिस रिच कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी इन शेक्सपियरियन ट्रेजिक हीरोज. नेक्स्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट, दे शो ग्रेटर डेप्थ ऑफ साइकोलॉजिकल डेप्थ बहुत ज़्यादा रहता है. ओके दैट इट इज़ मोर अबाउट द डीप द एक्सपीरियंस और द साइकोलॉजिकल ट्रॉमाटिक एक्सपीरियंस, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिडन एक्सपीरियंस that tragic hero must go through, must follow throughout his life. Deep down inside the kind of psychological experiences that we see. Fatal flaws, tragic flaw, error of judgment, hamartia, all are synonymous. Okay, so these are the prime traits that should be there in the Shakespearean tragic hero. Now we were discussing a lot about Hamlet. Okay, now if you see delay and indecision, Hamlet के बारे में हम discuss करेंगे. Okay, in next videos. Okay, the delay and indecision are Hamlet's tragic flaw, है ना? What is Hamlet's hamartia? Procrastination, delaying to make decision, right? Contemplation. Hamlet shows philosophical contemplation. There are many philosophical renderings, philosophical remarks. Okay, again that line comes back in my mind that to be or not to be, that is the question. What a great piece of art man is. So look at the line. Yeah, so it shows the philosophical aspect. Okay, which was never there before. It only is made available through Shakespeare's hand. Revenge. It is a classic revenge tragedy. Yeah, this one Hamlet can be also understood from the angle of a revenge tragedy. Now Macbeth, though it is not in our syllabus, but since it is said in the syllabus that we have to study a general study of Shakespeare, so we have to study all of them. Definitely we will stress importance on Hamlet and Tempest, but apart from these two we have to also focus the crux points, the important portions of Shakespeare's writings, mostly in tragedies. So Hamlet, ambition and guilt, we know. So the use of supernaturalism कितना बड़ा एक इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है मैकबेथ में. हाउ सुपरनेचुरल क्रीचर्स इन्फ्लुएंस्ड मैकबेथ, इंस्टिगेटेड मैकबेथ टू follow his desire, to follow his vaulting ambition, to follow his over ambition. Okay, and how we see he experiences psychological deterioration. Lot of soliloquies he has made, lot of dialogues of aside we have seen, saying, there is a soliloquy in Act 1, Scene 7, if it were done, then it is done, then it were well, it were done quickly. So that line, if the murder has to happen, then it would have been happened, but is it really possible to make it happen? So look at the way, the thing is that murder, Macbeth wants to say, I wanted to murder my king, but I am not able to do that. And he is under complete pressure of the regicide that he is going to act. But the way he presents his mindset deep down inside that is going on, that shows the inner conflict, the psychological or a conflict that will lead to traumatized experience. And that also will follow in the case of Lady Macbeth also. So Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are a tragic couple, really. Both of them fall under this tragic couple, right? Both of them have a dangerous downfall. Now let us figure out some important remarks from a comparative point of view. Aristotle versus Shakespeare. Unity of time, place, action, that we knew, that Aristotle said. In tragedy there will be unity of action, unity of time, unity of place. In Shakespeare case, plot is more complex, character is more complex. Scope of the subject, in case of, if we see the scope between Aristotelian tragedy and Shakespearean tragedy, there are some similarities, but there are differences also. Difference number one, in Aristotle's tragedies, the expansion is limited. It is limited to only Greco-Roman society. But in Shakespeare's tragedies, it is out of the age, it is out of the period. Now see, evolution of tragic form, right? Evolution of tragic form. I talked about soliloquy. What is soliloquy? Soliloquy it's a single speech uttered when nobody is there except that performer, except the tragic hero in that case. Okay, and he will express his own thoughts. Character types. Now here type character, there are basically two type of characters. Technically speaking, there is a flat character, another is round character. E.M. Foster has made this division of character. There are two types of character are there. Type character, there is one flat character and round character. Okay, so flat character is one who never changes his course or her course of action. Okay, typical character, predictable character, and round character is one who can change, who is unpredictable. Macbeth is a round character, right? Lady Macbeth is also a round character. Yeah, if before the murder of King Duncan, there is a different personality of Macbeth or Lady Macbeth. After the murder of King Duncan, we see a different personality of both of them. So round character. Okay, and Shakespeare's tragedies are full of round characters, not flat characters. Now comic elements. Now it was not there in tragedy before. Okay, but in Shakespeare we see in tragedy there are some comic elements. There are some criticism also about the use of including comic elements into tragedy, but somehow it is there that some comic elements, some kind of entertainment is there. Okay, we can say play within a play is both a serious device and a comic device. Okay, because the common public are enjoying that play that is happening within the play Hamlet, play within a play, and it has a serious concern. Hamlet, who is enacting that, has a serious concern. It has he has some expected outcome after this play within a play. So that's why comic elements are important also in tragedy besides comedy. Now Greek tragedy uses elevated language, that we know. Diction, we discussed. Diction, use of words, choice of words. So the words are used in such a way that it will appeal to you, it will bring arousal of pity and fear, and ultimately it will lead to purification of emotion, catharsis. Verse and prose. Shakespeare uses verse and prose. And what are the poetic devices that are used in Shakespearean tragedies to enhance emotional impact? So, poetry, literary devices, rhetorical devices, I mean figures of speech, lot of irony, paradox. तो हमें ये सारे टर्म्स जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है. What is irony, what is paradox, what is chiasmus, what is synecdoche, many other terms are there, all are there. तो हम ये सारे टर्म्स वन बाय वन सिंप्लीफाइड वे में इसको डिस्कस करेंगे और अच्छे से. These are some important topics which I already discussed. You can see how it is, significant. Stage, spectacle. Stage बहुत important role play करता था, क्योंकि stage में characters तो है, लेकिन characters के साथ जो props दिखाया जा रहा है, that is also part and parcel of the performance, है ना. अगर मान लीजिए कि एक स्टेज है और स्टेज में सेटअप किया गया है घर का, और एक कोने में एक कॉफिन टंगा हुआ, लटकाया हुआ है. सो व्हाई दैट कॉफिन इज देयर? दैट कॉफिन इज द सिंबल ऑफ सम बैड साइन, isn't it? So any prop can be symptomatic, can be symptom of some impending ideas, right? So इसीलिए stage is important and spectacle similar, like what is being seen on stage, that is spectacle. And legacy and influence. So these are the enduring things appear in modern drama, enduring things जो अभी भी चल रहा है. Okay, in modern or in post-modern drama, we find these themes repeating in the modern stage also. Psychological realism and human condition. Tragedy really explores the human condition, right? We discussed Hamlet, some major aspects of Hamlet: procrastination, Hamlet's guilt, Hamlet's delay, right? Hamlet's thoughts. Here is Hamlet sane person or a lunatic? So there are a lot of multiple ideas and views which are relatable to modern drama as well. And last but not the least, we can understand the timeless appeal that Shakespearean tragedies have. Yeah, right. It explores universal human experiences. Okay, the situation can be different, the context can be different, but the kind of the arousal, the appeal that it brings to us is really relatable, is really something that everyone must have experienced in some or the other way. Catharsis is a key aspect of audience reception. Catharsis is, if you don't like the movie or the drama, what is the objective of that movie or the drama? So catharsis really brings importance. Relevant. Tragedy remains relevant. You know this, right? Tragedy is not limited to any theater. Tragedy can be seen in any movie also, in any web series also, right? So this much for today. I tried to cover most of the portions of tragedy, so in the next videos I will come back with different literary forms. अभी हम literary forms को complete करेंगे धीरे धीरे. So for that I really invite you to our KTS Academy. So quickly enroll yourself in this class, and we will continue with discuss from the scratch, and we will focus on the syllabus. Syllabus में जो चीज़ें हैं वो हम अच्छे से ध्यान देंगे कि हर एक लिटरेरी फॉर्म और जो सिलेबस में नहीं है लेकिन फिर भी रिलेटेड है उसको हम कैसे कवर करें कम टाइम पे, और ताकि पूरा सिलेबस भी कवर हो और सिलेबस से रिलेटेड जो चीज़ें हैं एब्सेंटली कनेक्टेड है उसमें हम कैसे डील कर सकते हैं. सो दैट इज़ फॉर ऑल. ओके, एंड दिस मच फॉर टुडे. सो आज के लिए इतना ही. सो come and quickly enroll yourself in this coaching, and we will very soon start this batch of English CGPSC AP Assistant Professor. Thank you.